I just want to say, I think the entire idea that there is a debate about whether Donald Trump is racist or not is wildly
Well,
just
Ridiculous.
it's something that could only exist in our modern neoliberal media culture, to be honest. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. If you ever want the best example of how badly this culture has failed, and this is something that I feel like, regardless of your political affiliation, you ought to be able to agree on. Just go look at Erdogan in Turkey. Erdogan has like completely like taken advantage of the fact that if you just really sincerely say something, that's okay. Like that's the neoliberal media mindset, is that if you're sincere, you can say anything, right?
Mhm.
As long as you're just there being very earnest and thoughtful and sincere, then I can advocate for genocide or whatever, and it's fine. And so Erdogan just like gets in the news, and he just whenever like Turkey has obviously done something wrong, and it's very obvious, and it's like you just came home and your dog has eaten the couch, and it's very obvious that your dog has eaten the couch, and you're just like, dog, did you eat the couch? And the dog's like,
ooh,
that's Turkey. And like Turkey's like you're like, Turkey, did you bomb some stuff in Syria like that you weren't supposed to bomb, that you agreed that you wouldn't bomb? And Turkey's just like, nah. And because they just give it completely straight face with total sincerity, then everyone has to be like, well, we can't just call him a liar, so we have to. And that's what's going on with Trump. Is like, we can't just call him a racist, because that's, you have to be able to prove that. It's like you have to have empirical evidence that someone, like, what.
all right. Let's step back. Let's step back for a moment and let's just talk about Donald Trump and is Donald Trump pro? And one of the problems, and so let's tackle this on two layers. So layer number one is conservatives think that pro-racist policies are good. Like anything that is built on equity is racism. So like the more punishing, like the more that you increase the racial wealth gap, the more, and like they're like, that's actually less racist. So if we were to say like African Americans were disproportionately left out of the Trump tax cut, they'd be like, well, good, they don't have money, so they don't need tax cuts. Or if we were to say, well, there was a tax law that passed, Black people are 13% of the population and they got 5% of the tax cut, they'd be like, well, that's good. They don't have enough wealth, and that's on them. If we were to talk about like all of the like Obama, DOJ, really soft core community policing stuff about like building relationships between the police and the community, and that Trump like got into office and immediately rolled off these extremely soft, gentle proposals about like, let's have the, like, remember, this is, Obama is the beer summit guy. So like so like when Obama was like, let's get the cops to have beers with the community, and Trump was like, stop doing that, then the conservatives would be like, they shouldn't be having beers. They should just be learning to obey the cops so they don't get shot. Or if we were to talk about halfway houses, and I know this because one of my uncles in a halfway house, and the funding got like slashed immediately under Trump. They're like, why do they need support for transitioning from prison back to be rehabilitated? They don't need that. They should just stay in prison forever. So if we were to like give a list of any kind of policy that is like designed to support, or even if it's business loans and shit like that, like even if it was, okay, so I understand that you have no desire on equity, but do you support any of these things that are like tax cuts for minority businesses where they have a Pell Grant and they're in a disadvantaged area and they raise $20,000 and have 5 employees? They're like, no, that shouldn't exist either. That's racist too. So even if it's pro-capitalism, okay, no policies of any kind, then we just have to talk about, well, is Trump nice to Black people? Since there's no policy that like meets your definition of not being racist. So if we were to say, Donald Trump was like, Black guys handling my money is horrible, laziness is a trait in Blacks, and they're not good at counting money, then the argument has to retreat. Then it's like, well, he's just saying it like it is. And we're talking about Richard Spencer endorsing Biden. It's important to remember that Biden's team, and Biden didn't want to give this the dignity of addressing it himself, which is fair. Biden's team was like, we denounce you. Biden doesn't want your endorsement. Get fucked. Trump's has never vetoed an endorsement from the Klan. Can be added multiple times about David Duke's endorsement, and was like, boy, I don't know what to say. David Duke, what a complicated person. I don't really know a lot about David Duke. I've never really done the reading on the Klan. I'd really have to look into whether David Duke is bad before I could get back to you on that. Whether it was Confederate monuments, again, these are things, we're lowering the bar to like the Democrat bar of lip service, because both of them have terrible policies. So now we're just operating the level of like, are you willing to offend people who are explicitly racist? The Confederate monuments, no. These monuments are our culture. They are our history. They are our heritage. And the Confederate monuments are as American as America. It seems strange that if you are truly against racism, that you would go to such incredible lengths to avoid pissing off racists.
Well, I think that this is sort of a very play nice attitude that libs in particular have, and it's an advantage that fascists also have, because fascists don't have a problem with racism, and libs do, but aren't willing to actually talk about what racism is, and so I think that there are capacities in which this has made it harder to get libs to talk authentically about racism, because if you say somebody's being racist, they can't look at that in a dispassionate sense of like, yes, the system is racist, we are taught racism, we have to actively unlearn racism over many, many years. They can't do that. They just hear racism is bad, therefore I am bad, therefore I must not be racist, therefore you must be overreacting.
Is like a binary. It's like either you are racist and then you're racist forever, you always have been, you always will be. Or you're not racist, therefore you're the most virtuous, amazing, beautiful person and we all love you. It's like most people, especially white people, are racist, at least from birth. We are birthed into a racist system of governance. Now, does that mean we all go out there and call black people evil or whatever? No, but that means that a lot of white people are just weird about it. And it's something you have to actively unlearn because we live in a racist society. Does that mean that every white person is automatically like a sinful, evil doer? No. It just means that we have to acknowledge where we are. We have to acknowledge the system of governance and you have to work around it.
Yes, and also I would even go a step further than that and just say that like we have to just completely let go of this idea that a person's integrity and degree of racism are one and the same. Like these are two separate things. I know people who like if they could just wrap their minds around what racism was, would immediately flip. I'm very confident because there are people out there who are like racist and also never tell a lie and are there for their friends and are there for their community. And like they do things that are really, really destructive to marginalized groups, like to gay people. But then like in their interpersonal lives, they're good to the people around them, and so so long as we hold on to this like very unhealthy, toxic idea that racism is like a deliberate act that you do because you are a bad person, it's never going to get solved. Like we have to be able to start authentically engaging with this for what it actually is.
There was a poll done real quick, and like I think it was like a 5 or 6 years ago or something, where it was like they polled white people, "Do you have a black friend?" And then they took the white people that had a black friend and then asked them a bunch of like somewhat coded questions about how they feel about black people. And it was something like 60% of people that had white people that had a black friend like still were saying racist. And it's like, that's weird. That's strange,
Yeah.
But I'm not racist.
And like white people in particular don't have coping skills. Like we are not handed the same kinds of things to cope with that people of color and especially black people are handed. So like we're very soft and we don't know how to handle criticism because we haven't been getting wildly irrational criticism for existing our entire lives, right? And I think it makes us kind of weak. Babies. Sorry, I'm cursing and I'm not supposed to anymore.
You're allowed to say.
It makes us
I'll let it out, don't worry.
Yeah, it makes us like little whiny babies that nobody wants to deal with, and that's our fault. Like we need to get tough. We need to learn how to handle some feedback. I'm done.